Alright guys, this video is around alchemy. Alchemy is composed of 5 techniques: decomposition, extraction, pulverization, synthesis, and recomposition. It's from an anime I watched, by the way, right? But it's kind of interesting because um, the reason why saw it interesting is not because I'm into chemistry. I probably am. It's interesting because I feel like that's a crucial way for us to engage with the world. We tend to completely forget that we are at the same way we emit energy, we receive energy, right? And there's a big conversation that keeps happening in my head, which is basically how we tend to, as human beings, kind of like forget that we're not the ones thinking, we're not the ones being involved, we're not the ones kind of like, connected, committed. What do you want to call it? I don't know. We as human beings tend to forget that we're the ones who are uh, we're just observing. There's a separation between me, myself, and I. There's a separation between, if you ask the question right now to yourself, who is speaking? And then basically my response was Tariq, me, right? Me, Tariq, right? And then who started the conversation? And then my response is I did. So the first person who's hearing me speak is me, right? I'm the first person who's hearing what's coming out of my mouth. Although I'm the first person when the words are in my head, as they come out, I absorb them differently, because the minute they come out, I gain awareness about what I was thinking. Again, the reason I'm saying this is because we kind of like how we forget that we are one with everything, but we are one in basically like, at the core we're one. Everything else is from that source, from God, from the universe, from consciousness, from the cosmic energy. Like all that is basically like, it's one. We are one. Like life, we are one. Yes, but we tend to kind of like we tend to I feel associate our, when we're thinking we are one, we are basically going back to source, but we associate ourselves from the end of the actual line. And the way I say that is the what I am saying is exactly this. Our biggest issue is that we think, we consider what our mind is doing, us doing it. Let's just do that, right? Because the minute you ask yourself, why am I thinking about these things, suddenly your brain kind of like splits and starts giving you different examples. And that's when the minute you ask that question, what happens is you, through intention, and then your mind kind of goes, hey, this, and that. If you're not thinking, then what happens, like whatever's happening in the outside world that's coming to you kind of like dives into it, overwhelms you in a way, or kind of like clutters your mind. And so if you're not the one giving instructions, if you're not leading, you're following. That's the whole kind of like, you're either actively or passively involved. And so going back to alchemy, is like, alchemy is composed of 5 techniques, which is decomposition, extraction, pulverization, synthesis, and recomposition. And the reason I'm saying this is because it feels like when we're interacting with the outside world, we fail to translate what we're seeing in a way that contributes to how our reality operates. Because ultimately, everything I'm doing should be an expression to reality, right? But then, if you're eating, when you're eating something, it doesn't matter what you're eating. Your body decomposes it, extracts pieces of it, brings them, pulverizes them to their kind of like simplest forms, which is first principles thinking, right? And then after that, they kind of like connect them with each other through different kind of like chemicals, make amino acids out of them, make proteins out of them, whatever it is that's necessary for your cells to actually operate. And then recomposition, because it kind of like reconstructs them. It composes what is necessary. It synthesizes them and then composes what is necessary for us to kind of like do what we do. The rest goes into shit. And it's almost the same. It's literally, if you look at how basically like trees grow, they absorb basically carbon from the atmosphere. And it's CO2 in the atmosphere, and because of the heat, what happens is they kind of like, I don't know, they take the heat, they and they use the heat in order to kind of like, break away the carbon and oxygen, like atoms, right? Particles or atoms. Atoms? Yeah. And they basically like, as they decompose, and then they extract the carbon and they let go. And then when they take the carbon, they take it around and then they use it anywhere you want. That's the simplest form. There is no pulverization involved. Or maybe like through extraction you're pulverizing. But the idea is like, and if somebody says something, what we do normally is we kind of like, I had this conversation literally 3 days ago, and she's like, I'm the kind of person that gets convinced easily. That's what she said. I was like, no, you're not. You're just a person who believes quickly. And the reason for that is because you don't really want to think on your own. So if somebody says something and it sounds like it's the sound of authority, so you go like, okay, I'm gonna say yes to that, right? I'm convinced. You're not convinced. There was nothing there for you to counter that interaction. And so like most of what we do, we either kind of like, impose something from the outside world, or this is how it happens, so we're gonna do it. Again, like it very much seems like first principles thinking, because it's an act of alchemy. You take something and you break it down into its smallest parts. And after you do that, you kind of like extract the parts that make sense, that actually like connect and build whatever it is. And then after that, you kind of like, mix them together, synthesize something out of them, and then something new comes up. Why? Because like you took something that's already happening and you redesigned it. You allowed it to go through the process. And it's an alchemical process, right? Because like ultimately that's how chemistry works. You take something and you put something else in order for it to kind of like, that's how they build microchips, by the way. It's pure fucking like different chemistry elements that are kind of like wrapped around different shits, and they create those holes and they create those notches and whatever it is. Yeah, fucking good times. What am I thinking about? I'm thinking about Nvidia and how they made their chips, and a few conversations I had I saw with Wang. Anyways, so the way we interact with the world normally is either like, was a lot more rigid than we should have it. We should allow it to be. But true conversations should be, should translate from what we're looking at the world, because we're looking at the world from our perspective. And I think this is the first time I actually like say that out loud, because I always say our goal is to express our reality into this world. But our reality was designed by the way the world is, or by our view of this world. And the elements that we look at in this world have not really been, because our reality gets constructed throughout our experience with life. And yes, our goal is expression. But the things that exist within our reality, have they truly been allowed in by us? Have they truly been processed? Have they truly went through the 5 alchemical stages, which are basically like, has it been looked at? Has it been decomposed? Has it been have the parts that make sense to us been extracted? Have the stuff that kind of like need to basically be simplified been pulverized? Have the stuff that kind of like, could connect with each other to support how we see the world been kind of like, synthesized? and is whatever I was looking at reconstructed in my head, so that in a way it allows me to express more effectively and efficiently what exactly is kind of like happening in my reality. Interesting. It's been 700 plus videos. I think 760 videos. And I feel this is one of the first videos that really touches on how we reconstructed everything in our heads and how we reconstructed reality in our heads, instead of just how we're trying to express reality into this world. Um, Alchemy is composed of 5 techniques, man. And when it comes to first principles thinking, you break something down into its fundamentals so that you can build it in any form that suits you. Right? Like, you know, you can design an engine any fucking way you want. Not necessarily how people do it. The different parts of an engine are basically all that matter. How you design them becomes effectiveness, efficiency, and whatever space and shit. And we do the same thing with the world. It's just we never give it a chance to. We never gave ourselves the chance to see how we actually allow that process to happen. So, decomposition, extraction, pulverization, synthesis, and recomposition. I love you guys. It's a video.